Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of Endurance Chat. We're back. We're mostly back. I'm Michael Salvari. Joining me today is Kiwi Chris, 1709. Hello, Kiwi. Welcome back.
Hello, Michael. It's been far too long, but good Lord, have we got a good reason to get up today?
It has been far too long. It's been crazy. Life has been all over the place, and podcasting has been hard. But you are correct. We are back with a vengeance because it is the Bathurst 1000, the Super... Well, no, it's the Repco Bathurst 1000 now. The premier event in the motorsport calendar for Australia, and it is an event very close to both you and I in our motorsport watching landscape. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So we're, one of the first motorsport events I went to was at the mountain for the 1000, and just as someone who grew up in this part of the world, something I've watched religiously for many, many years. And continue to do.
It is the race that stops the nation in Australia, really. We talk about that with the Melbourne Cup, which is a horse race that no one cares about. But for people who don't follow supercars, everyone follows the Bathurst 1000. It's just that one race that everyone sort of knows about.
It doesn't really stop one nation, it stops two.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And especially with the strong Kiwi contingent this year as well.
Looking forward to this year, strong Kiwi contingent. We've got 4 high-quality names in the field, and it's going to be a long time for a few of these guys since they've seen them race. So looking forward to seeing how they go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a bit of a truncated... Well, no, sorry, this is the return to normal, I think. We've had Bathurst in December, we've had Bathurst in, September or whenever it was, but now this is back to normal. Bathurst in October, the second weekend in October, and it just feels right. It's that time of year again.
Where it should be, and back to the original start time too.
Yeah, absolutely. After running it a bit later last year, to get out of the summer sun, or more into the summer sun, let's be real. It is going to be nice to see it back at the normal time. And you made mention as well, a few of these guys haven't seen the mountain for a while. There's been a significant reduction in the support category action that have been at the mountain, and so it means for guys that would have had a chance to get their eye in a support category last year or the year before, that hasn't really happened. So for a lot of the younger guys, it's going to be their first go properly at the mountain.
Yeah, with the support categories or other series that would normally run here haven't been able to run. People can't get over from New Zealand or other parts of the world to get here to race in it. But COVID, according to the Australian government, COVID's gone.
Yeah.
It hasn't, but it's gone enough for this race.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Let's avoid that conversation. Let's talk instead about the fact that it's not the season finale anymore, which I think may push teams to make some different decisions. Last year, not that last year anyone really cared about the championship because Van Gisbergen had already won it anyway, but there is still that question mark over if you screw up this race, you screw up your championship, but you do have the time to recover from that now afterwards.
You do. Admittedly, at some of the really more difficult racetracks to recover from bad weekend at Bathurst at Gold Coast, Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm happy to have Adelaide back.
No doubt you are. But having said that, I don't think the championship's going to be that much in play this weekend because, let's be real, it's been wrapped up already.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll talk a brief bit about that in a moment. But before we crack into what's happened this year in supercars, Kiwi, what's some of your best Bathurst memories?
For me, obviously the year I was there was way back in the mid-2000s with Triple Eight completing their three-peat.
Yep.
That was a mega memory for me. It was also the year that Team Kiwi had their Lazarus moment.
All right.
After having the monumental shunt at Reed Park.
Yeah. And got back out on track?
On Sunday. I didn't exactly finish the race, but the fact they were even starting it was a miracle. The way I still remember the way the crowd absolutely erupted when they opened the garage on Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
At 7 a.m.
You love to see that.
You do. That was also the weekend we had this epic 5-wide mini finish.
Yeah, the old mini challenge days.
Mini challenge with Boris said in the wheel of one of them.
Oh, far out.
And I think in that year as well, John Hydoff was in the commentary box doing trackside radio.
Really? What,
Yeah.
2008?
I think so.
Wow,
It was either him or Addington.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
It was pretty insane.
What a weird collision of worlds.
I know, right? Holy cow.
Yeah.
And obviously 2012 has was it 2012? The race that never ended?
What do you mean?
Or 2014?
2014
the
is
one that went on for yeah.
Yeah, 2014 is the crazy one where just no one knew what was happening even after the race finished.
I was reading about that one where it was the first race where first and second had significant crashes until still on the podium.
Yeah, and first place, Moster and Paul Morris. If you don't know what we're talking about, by the way, the 2014 Bathurst has been called the best Bathurst or the great race because it was just chaos from start to finish. For context here, and we're going to spoil the result, but as soon as you see anything about the result, you're going to have the result spoiled for you if you haven't seen it. Chaz Mostert and Paul Morris won the race after starting from last on the grid, crashing at Griffin's Bend, having a pit lane drive-through penalty, and not leading a lap until the very last lap of the race. That's not even a half the story of the race. There were so many things that were going on in that race. It was just redonkulous.
It was an absolute epic. Second place in that race, by the way. Can you remember who was second in that race?
I do. It was Taz Douglas, and I can't remember his co-driver, but it was in the Norton Hornets, the Nissan.
Yes, remember where that car ended up during the race?
Also in the wall at the Griffin's Bend.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, there was a bit of that.
I think that was Nissan's best result in the whole time they were in the race. And third place was Nick Percat, Ollie Gavin.
Ollie Gavin, really? Wow.
Ollie Gavin, yeah. So that was an absolutely epic race. Almost been past my bedtime, but well worth it.
Yeah, that was a chaotic race.
Memories?
Pardon?
What about you? What are your memories from this great race?
So 2014, of course, is up there. I remember I was lying in my bed, just watching that race from start to finish, and my girlfriend at the time was confused as to why I was getting so overly emotional about a motor race. And so
has she not watched Toyota at Le Mans, man? Jeez, if that doesn't break you, you're not human.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a whole nother level.
Ricky.
But yeah, so that one's pretty high one up for me. One of my first Bathurst memories is watching the old Super Tourer era, the 1998 race. I have a vivid memory of watching Stephen Richards versus Jim Richards in the Volvo versus the Nissan Primera at the end of that race. I would have been maybe 4 or 5 years old at that point, but for some reason I remember that vividly. And I've actually got a poster of that race-winning Volvo signed by Jim Richards under my bed at the moment. So that one's a pretty big one for me.
The Nissan Primera.
Yeah, I know, right? What a throwback that is. But there's just so many things. Like you watch this, every race has its own sort of flavor. You know, there's the 2005 where it's, building, bubbling, and then it kicks off with, the chaos at the cutting. And, then on the other hand, you have 2017 with the rain, how somehow there was no crashes in the dreadful conditions where all the co-drivers were in, where Gary Jacobson made his name, where, Richie Stanaway made his name. But then as soon as the track dried a little bit, everyone kicked off. And that was, the chaos where David Reynolds was the car best positioned to win that race. No one expected that. Those sort of things where it's just, the only thing you can predict is how unpredictable the race is going to be. And yeah, those sort of things always gets me about Bathurst.
Yeah, and it's just the story it tells, and watching it unfold. The story never seems to deviate from the last hours. Always chaos, but leading up to that point and leading after that point, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, it's not necessarily that it's always chaos. That there's always something in the last hour. When I say
chaos, I mean there's always something new.
Yeah, even when it was, the 2012 race where there wasn't a safety car for the last third of the race, but you had David Reynolds on Wincup's bumper for 20 laps with Craig Lowndes running through the field behind them. You know, you've got 2011 where the same thing was Garth Tander and Craig Lowndes. You know, there's always something in that last hour that just charges it.
I think back to redress gate.
Yeah.
That's a hard word to say.
Was
that was 2017?
2016, I think. Because that was
where three contending cars took themselves out over an absolutely controversial moment involving Jamie Whincup, who ended up crossing the line first, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did. He won the race, but with a penalty in his back pocket to take. So, yeah. And that race, by the way, is the closest finish in the Bathurst 1000 history between Will Davison and Shane Van Gisbergen at like 0.13 of a second. So, you know, it set up a grandstand finish again because the last hour charges everything up again. So
what we're saying is just sit down all day. You're never going to get a bad experience watching this race.
Exactly. It's a bit like Le Mans. Even just the seeing the cars lap around Bathurst is a privilege unto itself. Kiwi, what's your favourite part of the track?
You know, this changes every goddamn year.
Exactly. That's why I ask you every year.
Yeah. Can I just say the bit from turn 1 to turn 23?
I mean, yeah, but then what about the main straight?
I suppose you got that 300-metre stretch between the two. Really, the run to the chase gets me every year.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculously in concept and design. It's just so awesome. Like, who would think the way to make a track safer is to flick him into a corner at 300k an hour?
Who
would think that?
Madman, right?
Yeah.
It is a pretty nuts piece of racetrack, and we've seen some spectacular crashes there as well.
We have. Of course, it was put in because of one crash. It took the life of somebody, and then the FAA rules were like, you need to break this straight up. So they did. But it produces great action. Yes, you've mentioned some crashes, which is not ideal. They are generally spectacular, whether they're Fabian Coulthard rolling over, Stephen Richards sliding through two cars on the track, Valentino Rossi MotoGP style at Austria.
Jeez, yeah, that's
or whether it passes down the inside, trying to switch back on the exit of the chase. It never leads to dull racing.
Of course not. It's
add in rain.
Oh, yeah, boy.
It's absolutely phenomenal for the road. I also love the run from the cutting up to McPhillamy.
Is that run through sort of Reed Park, through Meadow Great?
The left-right at Reed Park, where you see them just come over the hill, right out to the left, right out sideways, as Scapy would say, getting inches from the wall, then flicking it back the other way. We've seen a few cars get that wrong, and it's not exactly hard to do that there. Scott Pye's one, who I remember vividly in the Xbox car, went in hard with that piece of track. Absolutely brutal, but absolutely so much fun, so good to watch. Such good imagery as well. And of course, McPhillamy, Middle Great.
Yeah.
And I know that's your favourite too, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the run from Reed Park through to Meadow Great and then the tip over Skyline. Every single year that I'm spectating at the Bathurst 12 Hour, that's always where I sort of park myself because I just love seeing the cars under load like that. Because that's like, in the supercars calendar, that's the highest load that they ever experience on any corner of the car because they're dropping through Meadow Great at 200 kilometers per hour, which means that they're getting down, like all the downforce is affecting as well. And then the track just bottoms out and then comes back up. And so you think wouldn't want to be a front right tire at Meadow Great because that sounds like torture, but it's just such a cool piece of road. And just to see these massive cars just get thrown through there at that sort of speed, it's just mental. The amount of commitment that you need to do that is terrifying.
The amount of commitment you need to do, the speeds they do on the road that's narrow as it is, with walls everywhere, is out of this world. Like, when we walked the track all those years ago, I'm looking at it going, I wouldn't want to do the 60 k's around here, which is the speed limit.
Yeah, let alone doing 160.
These guys are doing double, almost triple that coming through McPhillamy Park. What on earth?
It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. That hump at the top of the hill where you just have to kind of float the car and then just hope that the front grips when you come down the other side. Like, that's mental. I love it. Love this track.
I absolutely love it. I say this every year. Just go watch This Is Bathurst with Mark Larkham, please.
Yeah, on that note, A, Mark Larkham does a fantastic job, but B, the broadcasters do a fantastic job of communicating this event. Like, it is a special part of Australian motorsport, and the broadcasters know that, and they pay it a lot of respect, and they're able to do a good job of conveying that without it being too cheesy. I mean, it's a little cheesy, but, you know, if you ever want to get hyped around Bathurst, like, the Supercars website has just so many videos, and the YouTube channel has so many videos. There's so many things that you can do to watch, to understand and to get hyped around this track and this event.
Yeah, I mean, to give you an idea how seriously broadcasters in Australia takes this is one of the sporting events that's on the anti-cycling list, which is a list where free-to-air have to broadcast it.
And that's a big deal.
That's a massive deal. There's only a few events like AFL Grand Final, NRL Grand Final, World Cup that are on that list. And this pokey little race in the middle of Australia, 3 hours out of Sydney, is on that list.
It's pretty wild.
And because of that, and because of Foxtel mega dollars that's thrown in it as well, the production value is something else.
It really is, and that's one of the sort of the privileges about being able to watch this race in a good time zone, is that you get to appreciate that production value, and you know, can get to compare it to the rest of the world and see that, you know, we're actually very lucky. So if you do have a chance to watch this from overseas, whether you've got SuperView or you've got another way to access it, just chuck it on for just the production value. It's something that other series should be aspiring to, in my opinion.
Oh, if Le Mans was anywhere near this, it'd be such more elevated product. That was great English by me.
If they could give Duncan Vincent like an LMP2 car cutaway in the garage to talk about things that are happening in the race with, like that's the sort of level that we want here.
Yeah, or give Duncan Vincent a Mark Larkham.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that too.
That'd be a combination I'd watch all day.
Absolutely. So we've talked a bit about Bathurst. Let's talk a bit about this season, because this season has really been defined by one driver and one team, and that is 888 Race Engineering, and that driver is a bloody Kiwi, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, get in there, boy.
He's just been unstoppable, hasn't he? He's scaring the other drivers with how good he is at the moment. So I can't think of any other way of putting it. So why do you say scaring, though? What makes it sort of scary? It's just, well, because he is so good, he's just able to put the car where he wants, to get past people when he wants. 95% of the field are just like, okay, see ya, bye. And it seems like there's very few drivers who are actually willing to go toe-to-toe with him at the moment. So and that speaks to the level of dominance he's had. Yeah, so who are the drivers that can go toe-to-toe with him? So far, Cam Waters has been one who's really been willing to put the car where he needs to make it hard for him. Is there really anyone else? Di Pasquale's tried and stuffed it up badly at Townsville. Well, that wasn't even, like... That wasn't even really all that much of a shot for Di Pasquale. He just kind of threw it down the inside and hoped. But I've noticed that every time Di Pasquale's been in a position to win a race, he has not. Like, every time he's been in a good position and he's had SVG behind him, he's just not had the racecraft or the control or the coolness to keep that 888 car behind him. Exactly. And we've seen Shane do some pretty insane stuff to get past cars when he needs to. ADP is making it so easy for him. Will Davison as well is another one. He's had, 5-6 chances to win races this year? He has taken 3. Which is more than Anton, but he also has been let down a bit by his team with a pair of pit lane penalties in race-winning positions for having wheel guns still attached to the wheels as the car's been dropped. Yeah, this is fair, and this is reflecting very poorly on the Penske list DJR. Yeah, absolutely right. You have to say, though, that this season's been really... you've really seen the sort of emergence of Cameron Waters. It's just a shame that he has... a Shane Van Gisbergen to contend with.
Yeah. I have a feeling that 24 drivers would be very happy to see Shane Van Gisbergen go do
something.
And the other multitude of things he's done this year.
Anything else. We'll talk about...
I mean, if you've got a tarmac race car driver who's going to win and come third in rallies, that's how good he is, right?
It is just kind of nuts how he's just able to do things that other drivers just shouldn't be able to do. We will talk more about Van Gisbergen a bit later on, but I just want to talk a bit more about the season as it's been so far, particularly some key events that we'll talk about. We'll mention the Bow Repairs Melbourne 400, the support event for the Australian Grand Prix, a few times, because for a lot of drivers in the mid-pack, that's been their best event. And that was a bit of a controversial event for a number of reasons, not least of all the tyres, Kiwi.
Off the tyres, which were, I mean, we've seen this before in supercars. You've laid new rubber or laid new tarmac. We've seen it at the bend. You laid new tarmac. The tyres were so hard, but they were hard or soft. I remember
they were the softs, I think.
Were they? Yeah, I suppose, and they were just going boom. SVG had a puncture. I think the whole field had a puncture at some point.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a dual tyre compound weekend where you had to run the softs and the hards. And if you're on the softs for more than 5 laps, you were risking a puncture effectively.
And the hards were useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which way everyone pushed the softs to the limit and beyond. Wouldn't surprise me if there was some tyre pressure malarkey as well. But it's just an absolute lottery. Which is a shame because the changes to the track look like they were really conducive to good racing.
They were, and it kind of is one of the few times that changes to a track to make it better for F1 has also made it better for other series, which is very rare. But yeah, the fact that they put so much load through the tyres for being at such a high speed for so long on brand new tarmac that was that grippy, and it just caused havoc. De Pasquale had a puncture, Davison had a puncture, Reynolds had a puncture, Van Gisbergen had a puncture, Randall had a puncture. Basically, everyone in the field had a puncture, and so that round was one of these sort of key marker points of like what is going on in this season. And a lot of drivers actually had really good weekends there, despite having a puncture or two.
Yeah, because it's 4 races, so if you given the chaos, you're going to be in midfield at better at least one of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what happened for a lot of the field. The other one that I really want to focus in on is the Townsville and the Bend rounds, where Van Gisbergen chalked up 5 consecutive race victories across those 2 rounds. He was effectively unstoppable in the middle of the season.
It was just so dominant. Like, no one could touch him in Townsville.
Oh, except for De Pasquale in the last corner.
I mean, yeah, but that was a case of inappropriate touching that was reported to the authorities. That was, he's good. I've never seen him that dominant before. What, he won Townsville by 20, 30 seconds?
In the first race, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of terrifying.
It's just absolutely terrifying. And since then, he's only lost 2 races.
And yeah, exactly. It's been that sort of dominant season. And rounding out the season so far, we had the last round at Auckland at Pukekohe, which unfortunately we found out was to be the last professional event at Pukekohe Raceway.
They're closing the racing track down. They're keeping the horses there, expanding on the horses.
Yeah, that was right. The club isn't buying into the racing anymore, which is very sad. But it did set up... Go ahead. You're probably more better positioned to talk about this than I am.
It's a shame because it's the first time we've been into New Zealand since 2019, since the world decided COVID was an absolute catastrophe, which it was, and shut everything down. First time back, the crowd was out in force. The Kiwis overall had a really good weekend. The way they presented that weekend was awesome to see in terms of it being the last one. It's just such a shame that we're losing such a massive part of New Zealand motoring history for no good reason. Really.
Yeah, the reason is they don't want to invest in it, but that's... If you invest in it, people will come. That's the thing.
Yeah. And the problem is we've got 7 racetracks in New Zealand, 6 once Pookie goes. One of the premier facilities is Hampton Down, an hour down the road, if that. So while Tony Quinn's got an amazing facility there, that's going to be amazing should it get the green light to go next year, there's just something about Pukekohe. It's not quite the same. Hampton Downs, just a bit too sterile.
Yeah.
The track's amazing.
Yeah, that's 100%. The section from the hairpin over to the main straight, like that's proper ballsy racing right there. And the send off that it got in terms of the racing product, like that. If you've not watched any supercars race this season, you should definitely watch the most recent race at Pukekohe, because that was everything amazing about supercars.
Pookie Race 3 was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
One thing I won't miss about Pookie is the safety aspect, and we saw that come to a head in a big way with Will Brown.
Yeah.
How he actually didn't suffer more injury from that than walking away unscathed, I have no idea. That was a frightening crash.
It was. And it's one of those where it's like 3 into 1 doesn't quite go and someone gets touched out into the grass and into the gravel. And it was quite a monster incident. And then there was another bit of malarkey afterwards with Barry Ryan getting handsy with Mark Winterbottom, who came to check in on Will, and whether or not that was something that was a smart idea from Frosty or not is another thing entirely. But you shouldn't be laying hands on another driver or another person in the paddock at all.
That's the sort of situation you go, right, Will, Frosty, go over there. I'm going to be here if you need me. Put your shit out.
Yeah.
Get it away from the cameras as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Fun times at Pukekohe Racing. But the racing there was absolutely spectacular. And the battle for the Jason Richards trophy to send out Pukekohe on a high was absolutely phenomenal.
It absolutely was. I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that somehow they can work it out to go in March next year.
Before it officially closes?
Yeah. It's not going to happen, but one can dream. Yeah, so that's been sort of the story of the season so far. You know, we've had these really cool events, but broadly it has been a 888 Shane Van Gisbergen show, and we will talk more about that as we go through the grid, because of course one of the complicating factors with the Bathurst 1000 is that without a Endurance Cup or without the Stand Down 500 preceding it, we have no idea what's happening with the co-drivers. Well, we have an idea of what's happening with the co-drivers, but the co-drivers haven't really seen the cars yet. We haven't got a gauge on, who's strong, who isn't. So we thought we'd do, as we do every year, a bit of a preview to give you guys an idea of who's driving which cars, where we reckon they'll sit, and who the guys are, who our podium sitters are going to be, possibly, maybe, perhaps, and a few other interesting tidbits along the way. Now, Chris, how do you want to go about going through this field? We've done it in the past where we've gone team by team. We've done it in the past where we've gone just numerical. We've done it in the past where we've gone reverse championship order. How do you want to go about it? Let's go. I think the most fun way to do it is reverse championship order.
Yep.
Because then we can highlight those who are having a tough season who have a chance of lifting. And yeah, I think it's more fun that way.
Yeah,
it's a big kid is the last. We know that makes great TV.
Absolutely. So let's start then, instead of on anyone in the championship, let's start with one of the wildcards, who are running as an independent sort of outfit. Something that does happen every now and then at Bathurst is you get wildcard entries, so either from Super 2 or a team adding an additional car. And in this case, we've got a wildcard from Matt Charter Racing of Matt Charter and, what's his first name? I had it up in front of me and it's gone. Who was it? Jalen Robotham.
Jalen Robotham.
So, where's Matt Charter's entry come from? What's Matt Charter known for in Australian motorsport?
Yeah. First thing to point out, truly independent team. Unlike other wildcards that we've seen and will see in this race, not affiliated with any supercar team, completely going out on his own, basically taking his Super 2 guys, having a run at the big show. Matt Charter, he's been around a while. He's 29 now. He did have a bit of a crack at getting into supercars. Didn't really come about. So he's been in Super 2. He started off really as a bit of a crasher.
Just a little bit.
Really, it's no other way to put it. Just a little bit. He actually got himself disqualified from a stand down round for having an absolute mare, taking out 5 cars in the process. That was back in 2016. But since the last couple of years, he's kind of turned it around a bit.
Yeah, he's been consistently in the top 10 in the Super 2 series, and he's taken 2 podiums this year. So he's certainly turned a bit of a corner, and managing his own team as well. He's done a lot to sort of earn some cookies back from the supercars paddock.
Absolutely has. So I think it's good on them for stepping up.
Absolutely. It's always cool to see a new wildcard. And I think the last wildcard from Super 2 that we actually had was the Kostecki brothers racing team.
Yeah, and that turned out quite all right when they weren't suffocating the driver in the car.
Yes. Brilliant fun times. Well, for the Kosteckis now, they're all racing in the main game. Well, Kurt isn't, but Brody and
Jake, yeah.
Yes, are both main game drivers, so it can be a bit of a stepping stone.
Absolutely. And he's got himself a really talented young driver.
Yeah, Jay Robotham, a young guy, 19 years of age, has come up through the South Australian Circuit Excel series, winning that in 2017, and then won the Asian TA2 series, and then won the Toyota 86 series, and won Super 3, and he's been making those step and jumps up the ladder, and is now sitting in Super 2, and has been giving a chance to drive at Bathurst, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, he's also raced Toyota 86, not just in Australia. He's raced in Thailand and won in Thailand.
Yeah, wow.
He's also racing Super 3 this year. Oh, it was 2020, sorry, which he won. Although Super 3 in 2020 was really not anything. Because I think it was, 2 rounds in the end?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those sort of truncated things.
Yeah. He actually raced in Asia in TA2 as well. Didn't know Asia had a TA2 series, but there you go.
Yeah.
So he's on the up. He'll be one definitely for the future. Really interested to see what his pace is like early on. For a young driver, 19, I feel like this could be his first racing at Bathurst.
Quite possibly. I think the Toyota 86s ran around as a support category pre-COVID, so he may have been a part of that. But just as a bit of an exclamation point on how good Robotham may be in the future, in the first race of the Super 2 series this year, in his first race in Super 2, he won it. He hasn't been on the podium since then, but still, that's a pretty good feather in your cap.
A great feather.
Yeah.
Also, I'd noticed, what do you reckon his parents' names are?
Jay and Lynn?
Yes.
Oh, that's gross. I don't...
I'm assuming that because the team was J Robotham Motorsports.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense, right?
Oh, that's... I take back everything nice I said about him.
That aside, I think I'm going to operate on a 3-tier system for this race.
A 3-tier? Okay.
Yep. Podium, top 10, happy to finish.
Yep.
I'm putting these guys in the happy to finish category. I just can't see Matt Charter breaking the 10.
Fair enough. It has been very rare that a wild card has broken into the top 10. I think it's only happened once, and that was Andy Priol and Matthias Ekstrom.
Yeah, that was a wild card of absolute superstars. So this is not that quality.
Yeah, exactly. So I reckon I'd agree with that. Cool. Okay, so let's actually look at our actual championship drivers now. And the first cab off the rank, the first car, the lowest placed car on the championship is at the moment. Now, this is a bit of a contentious one because do we count the wild cards or not?
I thought we're doing teams.
We're doing teams. Oh, sorry. Cards? Yeah. My bad. Okay, so doing the teams.
Let's not complicate things too much here.
No. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Come on, I'm a simple man.
let's go with then Cool Drive Racing, which is currently the lowest placed car in the team's championship. And that's because they are a single car operation, of course. And that is Blanchard Racing Team of Tim Slade and Tim Blanchard. The two Tims.
The Tim Tams.
I like that. In fact, I have Tim Tams.
Oh, yeah.
Keep going.
Send them my way, please.
Keep going. I'll be back in a
this
sec.
car. All right, while he's off to feed his face, this car, the number 3 Cool Drive car, has had a really interesting 2022. 2021 was an amazing year for them. They sort of burst out the blocks. Bathurst, they were really strong last year in the opening round. This sort of suffered, and Michael's put it in the notes here, a second season syndrome. So they've really fallen off the ladder a bit this year. And yes, even though they're one-car team, bottom of the standings, it hasn't been the greatest season for them. They've had a couple of forces at the AGP event, which you talked about, which was a bit of a lottery. But really, they've been outside the 10 most of the season otherwise. And Tim Slade's on the move next year too.
Yeah, he's been one of the drivers billed to go to Matt Stone Racing. Is that where he's headed?
He is, yes.
Yeah. So it's.
I'll be honest. I've lost track of who's going where this silly season.
Yeah, it's been hard. Normally, this is also like peak silly season, so we have no idea what's going on next year either in that respect. But yeah, that's been one of the moves that's been mooted. Tim Blanchard stepping in as the co-driver. Thoughts, hopes, dreams?
Look, it's his car.
Yeah,
he's going to do that. I think he did all right last year as a co-driver, to be honest. But he's not going to win you a race.
Yeah, that's a fair call. With that in mind,
especially with the way this car's been this year.
Yeah, with that in mind, then Chris, what tier are you putting them in?
I can't see them anywhere but happy to finish. As much as I love Slady, I just can't see it getting into the 10.
Yeah. That'll be my call as well. He's sitting just in the top 10 in the championship, but I don't think that's going to be reflected at Bathurst as well.
Nah, can't see it.
So, number 3, happy to finish. Next one up the rank is the SCG Logistics and Drill Post Services. So this is the Brad Jones Racing second pairing. Do we want to do all 4 Brad Jones Racing cars at once, or do we want to split them like they have been split in the...
Let's just do the split.
Let's do the split. Okay, so we're looking at the cars of number 4, Jack Smith and Jackson Evans, and number 96, Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boys. Let's start with Smith and Evans first. Jack and Jackson.
Yeah. Now, I said I had 3 tiers. I've got a 4th. The what the hell tier.
Okay, let's add that one into the list. Okay, so why is this in the what the hell?
Because how on earth has Jack Smith, one of the slowest, most not so good drivers in the series, got Jackson Evans?
Yeah.
How does that work? How does it even happen?
I agree with that. That is a bit of a misnomer. So, for a bit of context on Jack Smith's season, his best result has been 12th at that crazy Australian Grand Prix weekend. Otherwise, he has had an average finish somewhere in the 20s. Yeah. That's what we call bad. He's a bad supercars driver. Jackson Evans, on the other hand, should be announced that it's familiar to everyone who listens to this podcast because he's... Yeah,
just to clarify, we are talking about Jackson Evans, the WEC driver.
Yes.
Not another Jackson Evans that's in Australia.
Yes, Jackson Evans, Jaxon Evans, the WEC driver who won Porsche Super Cup, who's a Porsche WEC driver in GTM, and is a phenomenon behind the wheel. So, yeah, this is a bit of an odd couple in that respect.
In many ways, because this is an odd couple for the car. This is an odd thing for Brad Jones to do. I can't remember him doing anything like this in the past.
Didn't Jackson...
He's always gone homegrown local talent.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jackson Evans is a homegrown local talent. Didn't he also have like a stupidly good co-driver last year as well, when we were also very perplexed?
Last year he had David Wall.
But there was one...
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a very peculiar one. I wonder what the justification is for Jackson Evans to be in here. Like, is this Jack Smith's SCG Logistics money paying for a good co-driver, or...
on the old Stephen Grove route.
Yeah.
Buy your way to a fast podium.
Yeah.
Fast race.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't think it makes sense for Jackson Evans to do it unless he's just a one-off hit and giggle.
To be fair, though,
I don't see why he'd come to supercars.
To be fair, though, if you said to a WEC driver, hey, I have a co-driver slot for a Bathurst 1000 drive, do you want it? Like, I'd take that. Yeah.
Given that he's not even the only Porsche WEC driver in this race, yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we'll tie that bow when we get to it. So what tier did you put this one in again? What the hell?
Yeah.
So that
if I'm being less silly, I'm happy to finish.
I will be happy to watch this when Jackson Evans is in the car, and then if he's not in the car, I just don't care.
Yeah, as long as Jackson Evans gets in the car. That's my concern.
Don't hurt me like that. Don't even suggest that. That would be bad. Who's next? Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boys, who did a wildcard run with Image Racing. I think that was at the Bend, perhaps.
It was, and he actually had a really good round at the Bend from memory.
Yeah, it was actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
Macca
Not
Jones,
as good as the other co-driver.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at some point as well. Macca Jones currently sitting a solid, I can't even see him in the championship, 19th in the championship. He had a single top 10 at the Australian Grand Prix race that we keep making mention of. An average finish of 18th. Macca Jones, Chris, thoughts?
Look, it's nepotism. Brad's really going to stick with him for as long as he can, but I don't know how much longer he can stick with him for.
Is it time for him to start looking at other drivers?
Well, he wouldn't be the first Jones to not make it in the team. Andy Jones had a similar problem.
Yep.
He wasn't supercar quality, and he found himself a career outside the car in commentary. Maybe it's time for Macaulay to look. Maybe he can get a job with the team or something. I don't know, but maybe driving's not for him.
Quite possibly. I think that's a fair assessment. What about Jordan Boyce? Hasn't raced in Super 2 this year because he has been focused on doing those one or two wildcard rounds. Do we think that's a decision that's going to be good for him with regards to being race ready for Bathurst?
It's a strange decision because there wasn't really any clashing between Super 2 and supercars for that wildcard round. He raced at Winton, where Super 2, Super 3 wasn't. He's also been racing Super 5000, which he raced him at Hidden Valley. And that ain't going to prepare you for shit.
Yeah.
So, strange one. I can't get my head around it. And of course, he's raced Bathurst 2020. Well, the car did. They made 50 laps.
Oh, so he probably wouldn't have even had a chance.
Oh, not with Todd in the car, probably not. Todd Hazelwood. So, look, I think he's a great talent. I just don't think he's really going to make the best of it this year.
Yeah, fair enough. So, keeping that in mind, what tier are you putting them in?
Got to be happy to finish.
96, happy to finish. I feel like we're going to fill up a lot of this before we get into some bigger names a bit later on.
I might surprise you.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Next one is the second half of Tickford Racing, the Castrol and Trady Racing. So that's the Thomas Randall and Jake Kostecki cars, number 55 and 56. Let's talk Tickford, Kiwi. Let's talk about this pair of drivers. Tickford are an interesting team in that they run 4 cars, but really only run maybe one. They really have a third and fourth and sometimes even a second car syndrome where they don't have enough talent to really provide good engineering support to the other half of the garage. And I think that's what's happened with the Thomas Randall and Jake Kostecki cars, because they are so far behind where we would expect them to be.
They are so far back. And Thomas Randall especially, he we were so happy that he finally got a gig in supercars. Like he's been through so much heartbreak, so much testicular cancer issues as well to get to this point, and to be served this lump of trash, it deserves so much better.
Absolutely, yeah. It is. He won Super 2 last season, so he's coming off of a great introduction into the sport. We've been saying that Randall needs a seat in supercars for seasons on end, and he's 20th in a Tickford car. Like that's, and it's not like he hasn't had the pace. He's had moments of brilliance. It's just not been there.
It just hasn't worked for him. Again, I mean, he is also a rookie in the series, and I have seen him get bullied a bit. So maybe he needs to bring out a bit of the inner mongrel.
Yeah.
But he's also got to get himself in a position to do so.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, of course you expect guys who are in their first season who qualify on the front row of the grid to sometimes, get bullied down a bit. On the other hand, he hasn't really been given the car to do that a lot of the times. However, when he did qualify in the front row of the grid, he didn't move, and that was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the lowlights of the season. So what we're making reference to here is he qualified in second place at the bend and stalled it off the line and got collected from like 14th row of the grid. So he was lucky to get out of that one without any injury, truth be told.
Yeah. Sidebar, how safe are our cars?
Right. How safe are our cars? A few years ago, that would have been a massive fireball and possibly, intrusion into the cockpit, but not anymore. That's really, really good.
Yep, and Gen 3 will keep that up, hopefully.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think for me, the biggest story in this car happens to be Mr. Zachary Best.
The best that there ever was. Also a very interesting... A very interesting round at the bend for Zach Best, taking pole position as a wild card for the first race of the weekend. What an absolute stormer that was!
It's just what on earth? What? How? Huh?
So there was some news going around afterwards that the tyres that the wildcards were given were from a different batch than the main game drivers, and that may be a performance difference. But either way, you've still got to go out and put it on pole. And
yeah. I mean, if that accounts for 3/10 of a second, that's still only 10th on the grid.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a phenomenal effort.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zach Best may be, in fact, the best. He is not quite the best in the Super 2 at the moment. He's currently sitting second in the championship, but clearly Tickford sees something in him.
Oh, can you blame them?
No.
And they're second in the championship. They're second in the championship to Declan Fraser, who will come to shortly. But and he's only, 20? So another young blokes from Benalla, so you can imagine he cut his teeth around Winton a lot. So I'm really excited to see what Mr. Best can do in the future. This race is going to be about learning for them.
Yep.
So I've got them in the happy to finish category.
I'm going to give them happy to finish with an asterisk. I reckon they might be top 15.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I almost put up, but because I've labelled it to 10, I haven't. So I would hope to see a good race from these guys. They need some things to go their way.
Yep, and that's the story of Bathurst. What about the number 56 car? We've got Jake Kostecki and Kurt Kostecki. This is the brothers pairing up. We've had 3 top 10s for Jake this season. So 8th at Darwin, 9th in Perth, 9th at Pukekohe. But we are in the 4th Tickford car here, of course, and that means that we are in 22nd in the championship. What are we thinking?
Sorry, Kosteckis. I think you would have done better had this been your own car.
Oof. That bad?
That bad. I'm sorry. I have not been impressed by Jake this season. I haven't liked his racecraft. I haven't liked how the car's been performing. Kurt isn't going to bring much to the table, I don't think, because he's been out of the seat so long. I just can't see much happening from the 56.
So, firmly in the happy to finish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, they'll finish.
Will they?
That much I can be sure. Maybe.
That's brave. We'll move along away from Tickford's second garage syndrome to the Truck Assist Racing, Matt Stone Racing of Todd Hazelwood and Jack LeBrock. I'm already in cricket mode, Josh Hazelwood, my lord. hasn't been the best season for MSR. It's been a bit truncated. We've got Jack LeBrock driving alongside, whereabouts are we? Jack LeBrock with Aaron Seaton, which is pretty interesting. We'll get a third generation.
Third.
Yep. And Josh, again, Todd Hazelwood with Jaden Ojeda in the number 35 car. So let's have a look at LeBrock first. He's had probably the second most bad luck in the season so far. He was on the front row in Tasmania and got destroyed in the race prior, and so they had to put it out with bent steering effectively and finish that race in 23rd. When he's been in good positions, something's always happened to that poor car. Yeah, go ahead.
And that's been the problem with both these cars this season. Every weekend, if not more than once a weekend, at least one of the MSR cars is in trouble, and usually in a wall somewhere.
Yeah. And sometimes, which is more concerning, it's been the other car that's put them there.
Yes. Which is just not what you want, right?
Not at all.
I noticed that Matt Stone's had a bit of a change in structure as well. Jacob Scomersil, who is one of the main shareholders, has stepped back a bit from running the team to concentrate on his business. Whether that's going to have an impact on team dynamic, I'm not sure. But he is one of the knowledgeable guys around supercars team ownership, but not necessarily racecraft. So interesting to see how that will play out. So I just wish these guys would be better than they are. I know you love Matt Stone, the idea of Matt Stone.
Yeah.
Second generation Stone family racing.
It's the idea, though. It's the idea of Matt Stone, not actually Matt Stone. So, of course, Matt Stone's the son of the Stone brothers. So that was Ross and Jim Stone, who took race victories and championships with both Marcus Ambrose and Russell Ingall. And, that was the team for me growing up. I was a big Marcus Ambrose fan, and, read into that what you will. But, the idea of, a second generation team motor coming in and performing well was very attractive, but it just hasn't really panned out, unfortunately. It is cool to see Aaron Seaton get a proper gig. He's been doing very well in Super 2.
I wanted to bring him up because he drives Super 2. He has driven for Super 2 with Matt Stone Racing. Has had a podium so far. It means third generation Seaton, so Barry, grandfather, Glenn, the father, probably one of the best guys never to win this at this place.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
24. So he's definitely got a long road ahead of him. I think in motorsport, possibly supercars. He's had experience around here driving in the Mark cars at the 5 hour.
Yep.
So I'm expecting him to do quite okay. And honestly, that 34, if they can keep it out of the wall, out of trouble, this is one I think could possibly sneak into the team.
Ooh, that's brave. That's a brave call. I was going to put these into the happy the finish pile, but if that's brave.
That is brave. Although on reflection, the 35 is probably more likely to do that.
Okay, let's talk about the 35 then. Todd Hazelwood and Jaden Ojeda. Hazelwood's had a bit of a truncated season. He had 2 fifth places early on, but he has not had a top 10 since Perth, which was in April. So it's been a long time since he's had some good results. What about Jason Ojeda? A former Super 2 runner has taken the year off of Super 2. What makes you say that this car should be a better chance of a top 10?
Gut feel, basically.
Gut feel? Okay, fair enough.
But honestly, it's a toss-up between the two. Jaden Ojeda's got a bit more experience. He's raced in the 1,000 twice already. Gary Rogers in 2020, Matt Stone 21 with Zane Goddard. So he's also had a race Super 2 for a couple of years, Super 3 before that. And this is really the young guys staking a claim, I think. And of course, those Super 2 wins were in the Nissan. So
yeah,
for me, it's a toss-up which of these two will be better.
Okay, but you're expecting one of them in the top 10, you reckon?
I am.
I think that's a fair assessment. I wouldn't say both, but maybe one of them.
Yeah. As long as they don't crash into each other, please.
Please don't. Don't even suggest that. Not again. Let's look at the next pairing up the list. This is the Team 18 pairing. So Irwin Racing and Newland Racing. So this is Mark Winterbottom and Scott Pye. They are driving with respectively, Mark Winterbottom with Michael Caruso, so a pair of old heads there, and Scott Pye with Tyler Everingham, which is a name that is very, very popular amongst the Super 2 series at the moment, and a possible pathway driver from that. Let's start with the old heads first. Frosty and Caruso. That sounds like a buddy cop movie right there. Frosty and Caruso.
Frosty and Caruso, stopping all the driving.
So, Mark Winterbottom won this event, of course, back in 2013. A big win for Tickford Racing, which was Pro Drive Racing at the time. They hadn't taken a win here in such a long time. Frosty had been in position to do so and had missed out, and so that was a bit of a breakthrough for them. And then he went on to... did he win the championship that year as well?
I think so, yeah, 2013.
2013,
right.
Yeah. He sits currently outside the top 10, but he's kind of found a nice little home here at Team 18. It seems to be an environment that sort of suits him, and he's been pretty happy there. No podiums, but a pair of fifths at Darwin and Sandown. So a solid, just outside the top 10 sort of driver at the moment.
Yeah, both of them I think are as well. Caruso, when he's not getting to fights off the track, is very much very similar vein. Experienced head, knows his way around. Will give you the car in a reasonable position. He's not the fastest, but he's one of the better guys at keeping it straight and narrow.
Yep.
Frosty is getting on a bit. I don't think Charlie's going to get rid of him anytime soon. Charlie Schwerko's going to be like, "You're here as long as you want, mate." But I just can't see this car. It's definitely not going to win. Can see it in the 10. But I think a little bit has to go right for them to be there.
I think they'll be in the happy to finish pile. I think there's more interesting, more exciting cars elsewhere, which includes their teammate, Scott Pye and Tyler Everingham. Now, I kind of stopped myself when I said Jack LeBrock was the most unlucky driver in the field, because really, Scott Pye has been the most unlucky driver in the field. I think there was 4 weekends in a row in the middle of the year where he got out of a broken, destroyed car and had to walk back to the pits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was messed up.
And when he's not doing that, he's having power steerings go bang.
Yeah, again, which has been a weird thing that we've seen this season, just power steerings go pop. But on the other hand, when he hasn't been having these problems, he's been in the top 10. He's coming off a back of 6 top 10 finishes on the trot, which is, if you're peaking at any time of the year, this is the time to do it.
Absolutely. And Scotty Pye's been one of those guys he hasn't had a lot of luck throughout his career. He's been doing this for a decade now.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah.
No.
His first drives were Endurance Cup Lucas Umbrella 2012.
What? No.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
And how long have we been saying he deserves to do better and deserves to be in a better car?
Yeah. Jeez. Okay, when you put that together...
He's had one win, and when he had one win in that time, the epic at Melbourne in 2018... but yeah, he's just, look at his Wikipedia, it's a lot of green. He very rarely DNFs a race. And he's quick enough to do really, really well and get himself in the top 10.
And I think as well, with Tyler Everingham as a co-driver, that's going to be quite exciting. I'm going to be keeping good eyes on that car, because Everingham has been a force in Super 2. He's taken 2 race victories. Currently sitting 5th in the championship, but that's off of a DNF and a 17th at Sandown. But Everingham has been a name mooted for a move up to supercars within the next 2 or 3 seasons. So this is a big opportunity for him.
Absolutely is. Everingham, so he's been around the scene in Super 2 since 2019. Bathurst 2018 in the Mark car. He's 21 now. He was 16 when he started.
That's kind of nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. And that was a car that came 3rd in class with Grant Denyer and Gary Jacobson. So he's been at Bathurst a few times. He knows his way around. He's incredibly quick. I like watching this guy race.
I do too. I reckon this for me is a much more secure top 10 finish compared to the other car, I reckon.
If Scotty Pye can get rid of all black cats and ladders for the weekend, yeah, maybe.
You're really not confident about Pye.
No, I want to be. I really want to be. But yeah, Charlie, no mirrors in the RV. I got an American RV. What is that? No mirrors in the camper van. No black cats. No ladders. Just no bad luck, please.
Pretty please. With sugar on top. Okay, we'll move.
I'd love to see these guys in the 10.
I'd love to see him in the 10 as well. In fact, Scott Pye has 2 podiums here at Bathurst in the 1000 as well. By the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just quietly.
Just quietly. Brad Jones Racing is the next one, the other half of the garage. And really, this has been carried by one man and one man only. We have Andre Heimgartner in the number 8. He's driving with Dale Wood. And number 14 has Bryce Forward and Dean Fiore. Let's talk about Forward and Fiore first. That was a fun little alliteration there. It has been a disappointing season for Forward. We saw him at Walkinshaw last year struggle with the second car in the Walkinshaw stable, which has traditionally been a symptom that they have. They can only really get one car going at once. He's moved to Brad Jones Racing and has not done anything to justify that move. Let's be real here. He currently sits in the championship in 18th with a single top 10.
Which is majorly disappointing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's been a symptom of his whole supercar career. He's been touted as one of the really good young drivers. And we see this a lot. Just hasn't lived up to his potential yet. And I'm starting to doubt whether he will.
Is the yet there becoming a smaller and smaller yet as time goes by?
Yet we're now into size 6 font.
Yeah, damn. So it's the clock is ticking for Bryce, and he needs to find something to justify his position in the sport, I guess, which is kind of sad to say, but 19th in the championship, he's one place ahead of Macaulay Jones.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
I also don't like the fact we're talking about Brad Jones' top cars this far down the championship order.
Yeah, I know, right? It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
What do we think of Dean Fiore?
Nah.
Nah?
You put it in the notes. Nah. That's all we need to say.
Okay, so
he's going to keep it clean, but he's not going to keep it clean.
Firmly in the happy to finish pile?
Yep.
14 goes in the happy to finish pile. Wow, that's really getting bigger. Let's talk about a far more exciting car, which is the number 8 of Andre Heimgartner and Dale Wood. Now, Kiwi on board. Chris, talk to us about Heimgartner.
God, he's good at the moment. He's really hitting the rich vein of form. He's had this season's really been quite good for him. He's had a couple of podiums at Pukekohe. He's solidly in the top 10 in the championship. He's had a bit of an up and down season. And he's doing it really on his own. He is carrying the team. So I really like the cut of this guy. And it's taken him a few seasons as well to really come out in force. Let me have the rest of the season. So he's had the 3rd place at Barbagallo and Winton as well.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of retirements, but relatively been keeping the car clean and in the lower parts of the top 10 since Barbagallo.
He's kind of carved out a little hole for himself in 8th place in the championship. He's about 100 points behind Reynolds and 100 points ahead of Kostecki. So he's not really in any danger of any movement, but he's just been solid and consistent in that car, which is more than what you can say for anyone else in Brad Jones Racing. Yeah,
and that's something I've been wanting to see from him for a while. And I'm finally seeing it 7 years after he started.
Yeah, and so it's good that Heimgartner has kicked on, because there was a few times where it looked like his career was going to come to a very quick end. And, Brad Jones actually kind of revitalized it by giving him that opportunity as a co-driver for Tim Slade, the season where it was meant to be Ash Walsh in that car, co-driving with Tim Slade, but Walsh got injured driving a prototype car at Phillip Island.
And he's repaid him with a top 10 place there in a podium at Surface.
Yeah, absolutely. So Heimgartner is certainly the strength in that team. Dale Wood, very experienced, has a bit of mongrel about him, which is good. Has raced a few different things this year, notably the KTM Crossbow GT2 in the Australian SRO GT World Challenge Australia. Still a decent driver in the Brad Jones stable and to call on.
Yeah, I mean, you need a bit of mongrel when you're 3 feet tall.
Oof.
Sorry, Woody, but no, he is. I've ragged on him a bit in the past, but he's proving now to be a really solid, dependable co-driver who's not going to put the car wrong. He's going to bring it back to you in a reasonable position that if you're good enough, you can take it forward. So I'm putting this car in the 10.
I'm putting
in the 10.
I'm putting this car comfortably in the 10. I'm going to put an asterisk as well. I reckon if the cards fall their way, they might sneak a podium.
And this is the thing about Brad Jones. Brad Jones always seems to do something at Bathurst. Something just happens.
Something just happens. And we're not going to clarify whether or not that's something good or something bad, because it could be either.
Whether it's just the miracle play in the pits, or whether it's him flipping Peter Brock's car by accident, or whatever.
Or having two cars, or having two cars crash into each other on the safety car.
True, but that wasn't really a Brad Jones problem. That was more
a Brad Jones team's problem.
Yeah.
So something always happens. So there's never a quiet weekend at Bathurst for Brad Jones. So hopefully it's a good one for this one.
It's hard because he's getting on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's keep moving along. Penrite Racing, Grove Racing. This has been a very big story throughout the season. They've been doing quite well. And it's actually been honestly impressive. They've kind of taken the mantle away from Erebus Motorsport as the sort of cool team that's punching a bit above its weight. So firstly, we've got number 10, Lee Holdsworth, revitalizing his career for one more season alongside Matt Payne. Very, very exciting. We'll talk a lot about that. And then the top car for the Grove Racing team will be the 26, of course, David Reynolds with Matt Campbell. Very exciting. Let's talk about that. Where do you want to start, Keith?
Oh, these lineups.
Right?
Oh, let's start with one of the reigning champions from last year's race, Lee Holdsworth. His last season, he's hanging up the helmet end of this season. He really carved himself a nice little home for this year. It's actually a bit of a shame he's going.
I think it's the right time. I think he's found
it is.
It is the right time. He's not at the pointy end every week, but he's certainly not tarnished his legacy by doing another season. I think this is the right point.
Yeah, he hasn't done a CL where he's possibly gone a year too long, which is good, and good on him. And he's stepping aside at the right time, and for a person who's going to be something.
Yeah. So this is we'll talk briefly about Holdsworth. His drive last year at Bathurst is the reason that he got this drive at Grove Racing. Last year he was almost faster than Mostert at some points, which was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Steve was like, here's the bank check.
But I'm very excited about Matt Payne. And I know you are as well.
Oh. I've seen very little of his racing overseas this year, which is crazy to think that he's racing overseas at Spa. Is he racing P2 as well, isn't he?
No. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that he has been talked about doing Super Cup, and because he's had the tie-in with Earl Bamber Motorsport as well, so you know Earl's got connections everywhere. He could get him a drive anywhere if he wanted. Yeah.
And okay, yes, at Spa he'd been in the car at Blanchimont. Was it Blanchimont? Wherever it was.
Yeah, Blanchimont in the middle of the night. Course now along red flag.
Yeah. But when he is going, he is incredibly quick.
It's his first year.
And
go ahead, sorry.
That's about, you can say. He is in his first year of Super 2. He's had a few moments of not so great because, he's a rookie. He's learning. He's going to. But I've been really impressed by him so far on the whole.
Yeah, remember, this guy's 19. He's third in the championship in Super 2, and he is going to get accelerated through the ranks. He'll be in Supercars next year, almost definitely. He's going to find his way into some Porsche racing at some point. We might only see him in supercars for a season or two before he's racing in Super Cup and then in the Porsche WEC program or something.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's going with the Groves, the Motorsport Games.
Yep.
To race in their Pro GT3 race. Which is going to be interesting to see how he goes against the likes of the Pro GT3 drivers. He'll be in that, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matt Payne.
Look out for him.
Absolutely. That's a name to keep track of. And weren't we just saying not 4 or 5 years ago that Matt Campbell would be a name to keep track of? And look at where that guy's gone now.
Yeah. I mean, would you want to race Porsches overseas? I mean, I guess if you're good enough, why not?
Pretty impressive that a driver we were saying, it would be good to, learn under Todd Kelly, and it's exciting that he's driving next to Shane Van Gisbergen and is now a Bathurst 12-hour winner, a Porsche WEC winner, Porsche GTE Pro driver, GT3 Pro in IMSA, and next year we'll be driving the Porsche 963, the LMDH car, in the World Endurance Championship and in the IMSA Championship. Like, that's mental how much his progression has grown.
And he's only a young bloke as well. He's only, 26 now?
We've been saying that he's been a young bloke for ages. Feels like it.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, what an absolute... he's 27.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. And of course, it's not even his first 1,000 either.
He's not even first what?
1,000.
No, it's not. He's done 3 or 4 or 5 of these now.
And he's with a driver who, after last year ended in some ignominy for him, has found himself a nice little home.
Yeah, it's been nice to see the resurgence of David Reynolds.
Yeah, he hasn't had a win yet, but the team's still fairly green. He's found himself a few top 10s. So I think overall, we know what he can do. Of course, he's won this race.
Yeah.
So, as I pick up a screaming child, I think this is good.
So is this going to be good enough for a podium, do you reckon, for the 26?
Not with some of the cars we haven't talked about yet.
What about the number 10, Lee Holdsworth and Matt Payne?
I see them on the outskirts of the 10, so yeah.
So I agree. Both Grove cars, I think, solidly chances for a top 10. And maybe even a podium for the 2026, I reckon.
I agree.
But either way, keep an eye on these cars when the co-drivers are in the car, because I think Matt Payne and Matt Campbell we already know about, but Matt Payne is going to be a driver that people are going to be talking about in the next few years as being a big deal. So you're going to, if you're listening to the podcast now, in 4 years when Matt Payne is driving a Porsche LMDH car, you can say, I knew about Matt Payne before it was cool, and you can be hipster and you can rub it in everyone's face. All because of us. We're telling you this. Believe us.
We're the trendsetters.
We are the trendsetters. I never want to be a trendsetter, Kiwi.
I'm scared.
No one follow my trends.
Hey, Flood, I feel like we've maybe skipped the team. Do you want to go back and talk about Subway?
Oh, no. We did miss talking about Subway. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Peter Zaberis and the Premier Racing team.
Yes, Premier. Not because they're a Premier team, because of the sponsor.
Well, because it's Peter Zaberis. That's what he does.
It is. He is brought into this team last year, taking what was a husk and a wreck of a Techno Autosport. And who, by the way, have gone broke and have actually filed for receivership.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so they've got a 2-car team here, which I'm really interested with, because there's a couple of drivers here who are getting a second chance in a way.
Yeah, it's an interesting little mix here. So we've got the 2 main season cars of Chris Pither in the 22 and James Golding now in the 31, and that's been a story in itself. We'll talk about that more in a sec. Pither is driving with current Super 2 driver Cameron Hill, who has been a bit of a breakout driver this season, racing for Triple Eight Race Engineering. And James Golding is driving with a GRM teammate, Dylan O'Keefe, who's been driving TCR a few times this season as well. So interesting points to talk about here in Team Premier. I want to talk about the team management firstly, because what Peter Zaberis is bringing to the team is a bit of ruthlessness, which that team hasn't had for a few years.
Also money, but yes, ruthlessness.
I mean, that's true.
But he's actually able to put money into development, into the staff, and they've got a bit of mongrel about them, and it's great to see. And yes, Chris Pither, interesting to note as well, that 22 is running a bit of a retro livery.
Ooh, yes. A tribute to, is it Gardner and Crompton?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah.
Which is the iconic Coke car, so that's kind of cool.
That is pretty nice.
It has been ruthless in the fact that Gary Jacobson found himself without a drive pretty brutally, to be honest. Just one Monday, bang, you're out by. But it has given James Weldon Bieber a second chance.
I love having Biebs back in the series because he was one of the unfortunate losses when Gary Rogers Motorsport basically said, "No, I had enough of this." And he was a driver that was on the up and was committed and contracted to Gary Jacobson, Gary Rogers, and went across to do S5000 and TCR. But it's good to see him back in behind the wheel of a supercar. And boy, howdy, did he put a stamp back on the series by coming back in with a top 10 in his first race back. Like, holy damn.
Holy damn, indeed.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely great to see. Has he done much more since then? Well, he's only had 2 rounds, but...
Let's have a double quick check. No, but I feel like the fact that I've even noticed his name up the leaderboard has been a good and exciting thing. So he got a top 10 at Sandown as well. So he's been solidly pushing people along, I think.
And his co-driver there, Dylan O'Keefe, he's had a reasonable year. He definitely wouldn't think it's been as spectacular as perhaps we were thinking he was going to be.
Yeah, O'Keefe is he's kind of there. That's the thing. He's just kind of there. He's good. You see his name pop up, and then it disappears again.
Yeah, which makes me think the same for the car. It's going to be there. Probably languishing in 15th place, so I'm putting them in the happy to finish category.
Yeah, what about Pither and Hill? Cameron Hill has been pretty exciting in Super 2. Hasn't taken a win yet, but has been there or thereabouts.
Yep. He's definitely the reason to watch this car. Because Chris Pither, I've never really rated. So, I have these guys happy to finish as well. I don't think it'll be much more than that.
Yeah. Let's move along to the Erebus team that we mentioned, that the Grove Racing has kind of taken over the mantle of Erebus as the team punching above its weight. Why is that? Why have I said that? What do you think of Erebus this season?
Well, they've been a bit off the boil. Whether it's the fact that they haven't harmonised as a team with Barry Ryan being a bit abrasive, or whether it's because there's other things going on in the team, whether it's because they've just had bad luck, whether it's because they've got Mr. Boost causing ruckuses behind the scenes. Just something doesn't seem to be quite gelling there.
Yeah, and it's something that it's especially for a team that we've noticed has been very much, when it's been good, everyone's been happy, but when someone's not happy, it's kind of all falls apart. Someone's not happy in that team.
Yeah. And it's quite possibly the man with the money who said he's out and he's never coming back.
What's happened there? I had missed that.
He for the 50 billionth time he's cracked it and said no, he's out.
Oh, well, tell me again when it actually happens, please.
Yeah, we'll do.
I
think he announced it a week after the wild card.
What an absolute spud. What an absolute spud. Anyway, we'll talk about the 2 main season cars. Will Brown, Brody Kostecki. Kostecki has been the better of the 2 drivers so far this season. Brown has been driving, or is going to drive with Jack Perkins. They raced together last year and also at the Bathurst 12 Hour this year. And Drew Russell is driving with Brody Kostecki. David Russell, sorry, is driving with Brody Kostecki. Let's talk Brown and Perkins. Brown hasn't quite had the year that he would have been after. He took a race win right at the very end of last season, and it looked like everything was kind of beginning to roll on for him, but now the wheels have kind of fallen off.
Yeah, particularly in a big way at the aforementioned Pukekohe round, but just something always seems to go wrong for this car with pit lane problems, or it just gets nerfed on track, something breaking. It's just not quite there.
Yeah,
he's quick enough. He's definitely quick enough.
Yeah, he's taken a podium at Sandown, and he's had the pace in patches, but unfortunately when he has been in good positions, the team has let him down, which has been unfortunate.
Yeah.
Jack Perkins as well, long-time supercars racer, has taken podiums at the Bathurst 1000, has taken the Endurance Cup win, has a place in Bathurst infamy as being the guy that crashed into Mark Scaife in 2006 in his first Bathurst. What do we reckon about the partnership of Brown and Perkins?
I mean, they're both completely weird units, so that's a win. You know, if you're going to quarantine your weird units together, that's
one of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, these guys, I'd love to see Jack Perkins with a really good result. I just don't know about it being this year. I can't see these guys breaking out of the 10.
I don't think I see this pairing in the 10, truth be told.
Ooh.
Yeah, it would be...
Okay.
I don't think I've seen enough from Will this season and enough from... I don't think Jack's going to elevate that to a car that can finish in the top 10.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I suppose the other cars possibly better.
Yeah, Brody and Russell. Brody's had a better season. He's had 2 podiums versus Brown's 1. He's solidly in the top 10 in the championship, whereas Brown is on the outer. Russell is, again, a properly experienced steerer. Very much like Dale Wood in that respect, where he's got a bit of mongrel in him and he'll bring you back the car in a good position. We've seen Brody Kostecki be a bit of a pain in the butt at Bathurst before. I'm thinking back to 2000, the battle with Jamie Whincup, which was pretty exciting. I reckon this car is the stronger of the two.
I tend to agree. One thing's for sure, Brody would be the best sticky in the race.
I'll pay that.
Yeah, but maybe in the 10, not much higher than that. They're more likely to spring a surprise, but I just can't see it. Podium.
I would maybe not a podium, but I reckon they'll be in the mix at the pointy end of the race. Whether or not that's in the mix of the 5 or in the mix of the back half the top 10, I see this car being in the 10 more than I see the other one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Now, a very exciting thing.
Yes.
Erebus are running a wild card, which I know is very close to your heart, Kiwi. Why don't you do the introduction for this one?
So this is the wild card with the classic number 51 for one Gregory Murphy and one Richie Stanaway. Welcome back, boys.
Welcome back indeed.
Very much. This has been 3 years in the making. It was announced pre-COVID. 2020 couldn't happen because no one could get into Australia. 2021 didn't happen because they couldn't get back to New Zealand. 2022 finally going to happen.
And it almost didn't happen after Brown's crash in Pukekohe.
Yes. Which would have been such bad luck. And I remember watching the telecast, Greg Murphy talking about it live as he was discussing the chassis. He looks wrecked. You just see his face just drop because he knew what that meant.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty. But it's happening. It's in the works. It's going to happen. And Kiwi, this must be like a fever dream for you.
I never thought I'd see Murph back at the mountain.
Yeah,
I thought he was safely retired. I don't know what on earth has possessed him to come back, but by God, I'm glad he has. And he's brought Richie for the ride as well, who is a bit of a wasted talent. I'm so interested to see what these guys can do after so long out of the seat.
Yeah, this is going to be the interesting thing for me. So, Stanaway had his breakout drive in supercars at Bathurst, or you could argue that, Sandown was part of it as well. But that 2017 season where he was, on the outer of the WEC Aston Martin program, looking for a new place to go and found a spot at Tickford where he, effectively won a Sandown with he did win Sandown with Cameron Waters, and then put that car in a great position in the 1000, and then got stuck in the fourth car of Tickford for 2 seasons, and then, kind of loitered around the outer and then gave it up because he wasn't enjoying it. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see Stanaway back. And of course, Murphy's a legend. So it's going to be super fun to see that back.
I do kind of wish that Murphy had a wild card it's never going to happen, but a wild card at New Zealand. That could have been so cool.
At Pukekohe, yeah. That would have been nuts.
Yeah. But, I'm not expecting anything from these guys, but God, I hope it does happen.
Yeah, I reckon just seeing the 51 on the mountain again, that's going to stir some things in the Kiwi hearts, like yours.
Oh, it will. It will.
Where do we categorize this one?
I'm going to put this in the what the hell category because I've got no idea what's going to happen.
I like that. I like the way you think. What are the odds on Greg Murphy and Craig Lowndes running into each other on track?
Oh, God.
What do you reckon? Where do you reckon that sits?
On lap 145, perhaps he's racing around in the top 10.
Oh, yes, chaos. I love it. That would be brilliant. So that'd be a good one to watch.
Doesn't make a wild card.
Huh?
Thank God Marcus Ambrose hasn't had a wild card.
Oh, yeah, blimey. Can you imagine Murphy and Ambrose in a wild card together?
Hey, it worked with the 12-hour where they got Scaife and England in the car together.
Oh, no, that didn't work.
It wasn't their fault.
It was Ingles' fault.
True. Are we getting sidetracked? I think we're getting sidetracked.
Always. Let's talk Walkinshaw and Andretti United. We've got 3 more teams to get through after this. Now, this has been a classic Walkinshaw, one car is good, the other is trash syndrome. So we have, unfortunately, the trash, which has been Nick Percat and Warren Luff. And, Nick Percat has had just an awful season. He hasn't had any sort of consistency. He's had flashes, but he's been broadly nowhere. And he's only had one top 5, which was the Australian Grand Prix. And otherwise sits 15th in the championship. Can Walkinshaw ever get 2 cars working at the same time?
I mean, nothing Zach Brown has a hand and seems to get 2 cars working at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Doesn't happen in McLaren, doesn't happen in United at the moment.
And not at Walkinshaw either, apparently.
No.
It's been kind of disappointing because we've always wanted to see what Percat could do in a car that's been, up at the pointy end, and we're finally there. And, this is a coming home for Percat as well. Remember, Percat is a Bathurst 1000 winner with Garth Tander in 2011. So this is like a return for Percat.
And this team back in the HRT days.
Exactly.
It's just an absolute shame. And it's also a shame that they're wasting Warren Luff in this car.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's wasting. Warren Luff is a serial Bathurst podium getter as a co-driver. He's got 7 podiums in 10 years. So it doesn't surprise me that Luff has this connection with Walkinshaw, and, that car could be a dark horse for a top 10 or a top 5 or a podium result. You never know with Luff in that car and with Percat in that car.
That's just that Walkinshaw. If they can get 2 cars together, but that's an F the size of Melbourne at the moment.
Well, fair enough. And we know Percat's talented. We know Luff's talented. So they just got to find Walkinshaw. Just have to find something. And remember, Walkinshaw are the reigning champions here with the 25 car. They destroyed everyone last year with Chaz Mostert and Lee Holdsworth. But Mostert has had possibly the most hot and cold season of any of the actual big players. He won the first round and then was nowhere in Perth. He had a DNF at the Australian Grand Prix and has been, he's been just kind of everywhere and nowhere, but has taken race wins as well, which has been really important.
Yeah, he's had very much a Katy Perry of seasons. So the fact he's 5th in the race, in the 5th in the overall title at the moment, I think shows that, yes, when he's on, he's been brilliant. I don't think he's been at the SVG level, but he's been pretty good. And, of course, like you mentioned, won last year. You want form guide, these form guide.
Yeah, exactly.
The more intriguing thing here to me is how Fabian's going to do.
Well, Fabian fits the mold as the just retired supercars driver that is way better in a good car than you think.
Yes, and we've seen that in previous years. VT comes to mind immediately.
Lee Holdsworth comes to mind.
Exactly. Just out, still relatively race fit. If you don't forget how to drive these things in half a year. So, I know he wasn't super impressive when he gave up full-time driving, but I'm so intrigued to see what he can do now.
To be fair, he was in a Team Sydney car, so,
Let's be true.
Yeah.
So I reckon they may sneak a podium in this car.
I agree with the 25.
They'll need a bit of luck.
Yep.
They'll need quite a bit of luck. But I feel like they can do it. We know they're both fast enough to.
Absolutely. What about the number two?
Just whether... Number two? Nah.
No?
I'm putting them in the 10. In the 10, and honestly, I'm going to say just in the 10.
Yeah. It's one of those things, you never want to write off a Walkinshaw car, because you never want to write off a Walkinshaw car, but it just hasn't been the season for Nick Percat, so... Who knows?
Yeah.
But we've said that before in the past with Scott Pye and Warren Luff, and they've come through for second place as well. So, what do you do? Who knows? Who knows? I think you're maybe being a bit harsh on Mostert in terms of only just sneaking a podium. Remember last year he just monstered this entire event. So I reckon if the form guide is, the form guide. If Mostert is hot, then he'll almost be unbeatable. But if he's not, he's going to be nowhere. That's going to be the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like we won't know how these guys will go until Friday.
Yeah, pretty much. 3 more teams to get through. We've got the second half of the Tickford Garage, Monster Energy, and the Snowy River Caravans entry, which they make sure to say every single time they talk about that car, because obviously someone's paying them a comically sized bag of money to do so. This is the...
I've got a feeling that Croppo owns them or something. I don't know. Is that way?
Yeah, maybe. We've got here the number 5 car of James Courtney and Zane Goddard as the sort of the challenger, and then the only car really to take it to Van Gisbergen this season, the number 6, Cameron Waters, partnering up again with James Moffat. So let's talk about the number 5 first. Courtney's been around forever now.
Yeah. I mean, I can still remember talking about him as a young bloke, and that was what? 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, he replaced Marcus Ambrose at Stone Brothers in 2006 is when he started driving in the Supercars Championship. But before that, he had an open wheel career over in Europe that came to a very abrupt end. So he's been around for a long time.
He has been. He's 42 now. There's been people saying, has he been here too long? But honestly, his season this year is not been that terrible.
Yeah. He's taken 2 podiums, which is more than a lot of other teams have managed to take as a full team, let alone as a one driver.
Yeah. And to think that he was going to be shafted out of the drive not 12 months ago.
Yeah, it's been super interesting to see how he's kind of just always found a way to sort of stay in the championship. And if he's in the second Tickford car, which he clearly is, he's actually not doing too badly. He's sitting just outside the top 10, which, ambition would say you'd want that car to be in the top 5 of the championship. But, Brad Jones has 3 cars placed between 19th and 24th in the championship. So we can't have everything in life. What about Zane Goddard?
Young bloke. He's, I say young bloke, duh. He's had a season and a half and then sort of went nowhere.
Because that was
with Matt Stone and when they did this super lights scheme going.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been interesting to see how Goddard has progressed or otherwise hasn't. Is he racing Super 2 this year?
I believe he may be. I'm going to actually just go to the Pedia of the Wikis. And he's racing S5000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it has been sort of raced.
He's had 1 podium.
Yeah. What do we reckon? We've seen this sort of pairing before. We had Todd Kelly and Matt Campbell a few years ago, where you've got a very experienced head and a young driver still trying to find his feet. Is this going to be a car that you reckon can challenge to the top 10, or is this a car that's looking towards future seasons for Goddard?
This is one for the future, I think. Learn as much as you can from JC and apply it when you get this car in 2024 when JC retires.
With that in mind, whereabouts do you reckon this car will finish?
Maybe just scraping into the 10, but I've got it in the happy to finish.
I'll put that in the happy to finish as well for JC and Goddard. Now, one of the big big cars to keep an eye on is the number 6, Waters and Moffat. We've seen this as let me try that again. We've seen Moffat as a co-driver win the Enduro Cup before. This car was on the podium last year. It was on the podium the year previous. Cameron Waters has been the one driver to really stand up and fight with Van Gisbergen in the latter stages of races. Currently second in the championship. Does Cameron have a chance to win Bathurst here?
See, I'm conflicted about this car for 2 very big reasons.
Yeah?
One, I cannot stand James Moffat.
Yeah, he's a bit of a flog, isn't he?
He is an absolute... I'm not going to say anything because it's just to bleep it. And I've never really thought he's been super quick either. He's got a tendency to just push cars a little too hard or push the walls a bit too close. And I don't know if that's what you necessarily want in a car that should otherwise be contending for a podium.
Yeah, we have seen times where he's overdriven a car. So I think there was a year at Bathurst, I think it might have even been 2017, where he was in a Gary Rogers Motorsport car in the top 10, in the top 5 perhaps, in the latter stage of the race, and put it in the wall with like 3 laps left. And because he was trying too hard. And I think that's, probably something that sums up Moffat's driving style, is at times he tries too hard.
Yeah. And I think it's another case of small bloke syndrome.
Yeah, possibly.
But I really want to be positive on this car, but I'm finding it really hard. Because we know Cam Waters is a podium getter. He's going to be this car on the podium if his co-driver plays along.
Well, it's worked the last 2 seasons. Waters, almost was on Van Gisbergen's case in 2020 and then was on Van Gisbergen's case in 2021 until Van Gisbergen had the tyre drama. So, it's 2 podiums in 2 seasons, third then second. Do we see that step up to first?
I mean, not with Shane Van Gisbergen in the field.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So we're putting this as a podium chance?
Yep, podium chance for sure.
I firmly agree. Now, we've got one more team to get through before we get to the absolute big guns that we're going to gush over. We've got DJR, the Shell V-Power Racing team, of Anton De Pasquale and Will Davison. Now, I don't know about you, Chris, but despite being second in the championship, I have not been impressed with DJR this season.
Not even remotely. The reason we say that is because they're second by an absolute truckload. Like, there's one standout team and it's not even close. They're just not doing good enough.
It is
with
just
the potential they've got, with the drivers they've got.
It is just that simple, isn't it? They're not good enough. They're not doing what they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing they've got going for them at Bathurst, they've actually put a retro livery on the car.
Yes! Oh my god. Well, I'm so excited for the livery. That's you know what? It's kind of sad to say that's the most excited I am about DJR at the moment. Is the fact that they put the livery from 1998 on that car, and it means that they're running a different livery that looks way better than the same livery that they've used for the last 4 seasons. That's boring and old and tired.
Yep, but it also conflicts me because that livery brings back memories of Paul Radisich talking to a horse.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Let's flesh out a little bit more. Anton De Pasquale in the number 11. He's driving with Tony D'Alberto. Anton hasn't taken a win this year, despite being in positions to win races almost every weekend. Now, I don't know about you, but that sets off alarm bells for me.
Just can't finish. Can't seal the deal.
And that's kind of problematic because at Bathurst you have to be able to seal the deal effectively.
Yeah. You can't win this race without sealing the deal.
Exactly.
Because no one's going to seal it for you.
What about Tony D'Alberto as the co-driver?
I think, well, he's definitely been better as a co-driver than he was when he was driving week in, week out. But no one's scared of him.
Yeah.
He's solid. He's capable. He'll give you the car in a reasonable position, but he's not going to go out there and drive to win you a race.
Would that car be stronger with Stuart McLaughlin in it? I mean, duh.
Duh.
Yeah, exactly.
Most cars are.
Yeah, pretty much.
God, I just had a horrible thought.
What?
What if Triple Eight do Triple Eight and decided next year to have Scotty and SVG in the same car?
Oh my god, can you imagine? That would be hilarious. I want to see that now. Okay, back on track. Number 17, Dick's famous 17 at Bathurst. We've got the brothers Will and Alex Davison. Now, Will Davison's probably been the better of the two DJR cars this season. He's actually broken through for race victories, and he's been able to capitalize broadly when he's been in a race winning position. But he's also had the team let him down when they've been in race winning positions.
Yeah, what was it you mentioned about before? Leaving a wheel gun on the car.
Twice.
Yeah. And wasn't there one pit stop where they forgot a wheel? Or am I getting confused?
I think you might be getting confused. That sounds like Ferrari and F1.
Yeah. No, most things are Ferrari and F1. But, they just haven't... I'm glad he's getting wins and glad he's getting really good results, but he should be doing more. And his co-driver here ain't going to help.
So what do we think of Alex then? Alex had a long supercars career that didn't really, reach the heights that we were expecting after winning Porsche Carrera Cup in Australia, and then he went overseas and raced in Porsche Carrera Cup overseas and didn't really get anywhere. He did have one or two drives in a GR Racing GT AM machine in the WEC and didn't really go anywhere. Is that a trend?
Yeah. He hasn't really done much as a co-driver here either. He's been with Will for a few seasons now. And this reeks of a partnership more of convenience more than anything else.
Yeah.
Will, here, bring your brother down, make a weekend of it. Go get pissed off the weekend.
I've got to say, if their Bathurst this year is anything like their Bathurst last year, where they were effectively anonymous and it was just disappointing, I'm going to be very disappointed. But the problem is I don't see it going any other way for them.
And this is what I think annoys me most about these guys. DJR have the resources and the pull to go get almost any co-driver they want. Okay, yes, Scotty Mack decided to stay in America because it probably was going to be too difficult for him to get here. But there's plenty of other guys in Australia, young up-and-comers or experienced heads, they could say, hey, come drive for one of the most famous teams in racing.
Yeah.
I just think they're wasting this car.
Oh, I'm not even sure it's that. I don't think they've got the hardness in the team anymore. I don't think they are capable, without Penske there, of being ruthless. And I think that's been the biggest change in the team culture over the last few seasons.
Oh, I think Dick's always been like that. As a team owner.
Yeah, that's a good point. And unfortunately, the culture flows down from the top. So, do we see these guys as a podium getter?
Maybe the 11, but it's a very big maybe. So I'm going to say top 10.
I'm putting both of them in the top 10. Yeah. Yep. Which is weird to say because they are second in the championship. Yeah.
Yeah. So weird to say. And I feel like that prediction is going to bite us on the backside really quickly.
Well, either we're going to be amazing and we're going to get it exactly right, or they're going to boss the entire weekend and we're going to have egg on our face.
I'd be happy with that, but I can't see it happening.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'd be happy with the egg on my face.
Now, let's talk. We've been building it up the whole podcast. Let's talk Triple Eight Race Engineering. They've got 3 cars, the 2 full season cars, and a wild card. Where do we want to start?
Well, let's start with the wild card first. Save the big boys till last.
So the wild card is the return of the 888 number, which is fantastic to see. It, of course, will have Craig Lowndes back for his Bathurst 1000 because it's been so many at this point.
Yep.
And alongside him is current Super 2 championship leader, Declan Fraser. So that is a really, really interesting car in terms of the most experienced of the experience and the most useful of the youth.
Mm. And I think Declan Fraser, he is Triple Eight's next cab off the rank.
Yeah.
Should Gizzy decide he's had enough of this and go conquer the universe, he'll be in that seat without a doubt. He in CL. This is very much the young and the reckless.
I love that. Is it possible that there is a driver that has done more laps around Bathurst than Craig Lowndes?
Not when it's alive.
Yeah, fair enough. It is just really, it is almost, again, like a little bit of a fever dream having Craig Lowndes at Bathurst once again. But he didn't actually retire all that long ago, now, when you think about it.
No, he didn't. Yes, he's been in the com box, but he's still been driving Enduro Cup.
Mm.
And what he's forgotten about motorsport, most people struggle to remember in their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if Declan's going to learn from anyone.
Well, this kind of, yeah, exactly. This kind of reminds me of last year's wildcard effort for Triple Eight, where you had Brock Feeney and Russell Ingall. So you had a young driver, very eager to learn, on the fast track up into supercars, along with a very experienced older head who could sort of level that out and, round off the edges, so to speak. So this, of course, is Triple Eight grooming Declan for the future.
And they're bringing back the old boss out of retirement, Roland Dane, for this one.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's, I think, heading out the engineering.
Love to see that.
Yeah, so honestly, this car, I'm putting in the happy to finish category because I don't think they care about where they finish.
I want to see them in a top 10. I reckon of all the wildcards that could do it, this one is going to be the one.
Oh, they're capable of it. I just don't think they give a crap.
Fair enough.
This is about race miles.
Fair enough. I'll save a question for after we talk about the next two cars. So we've got also the number 88. We've got Jamie Whincup stepping in to partner Brock Feeney. So Jamie Whincup back in the 88. Feeney's actually had a quite impressive season. I've been happy with Feeney's report card so far this year. Is my assessment of it. What about you?
Solid B+.
Solid B+?
He's solid B+. He's done, I think, better than I expected. He's been in contention a few times for a super result, and he's made the most of, I think, of what he can. He's currently sitting, sixth in the championship with a couple of podiums?
Yeah, comfortably sixth, ahead of David Reynolds and behind Chaz Mostert.
And the last few races, I think he's just developing a little bit of mongrel in him as well.
And it's been good to see. He's still very young. He's only 20, so he's still got a long way to go, but this is a great launch pad for him.
Absolutely is. And his co-driver here is absolutely not going to hurt him one bit.
I don't know. Has the curse of Bathurst been lifted?
Yeah, J-Dub. He's only, how many of these has he won? 7?
1000s or championships?
Championships.
Yeah, he's won 7 championships. That's fine.
Yeah. He's not like, he only part owns the team. He's nobody.
Yeah. This would be a car to keep an eye on, of course, because A, it's a Triple Eight car and Triple Eight are the best in the business. B, because it's got Jamie Whincup making a return to the driving seat, which will be very impressive. Hopefully he's still got it. And C, because I want to see Brock Feeney really, I want to see him be the top driver of the team that we know that he should be.
Yeah, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
It's lap 141.
Yeah.
Jamie's been in the car, or Brock's been in the car for 2 stints. Jamie's in the sideline ready to go. You're in contention for a win. It's your final pit stop. Do you keep Brock in the car for a 3rd stint or bring in J-Dub to finish it off?
That's a great question.
And do you say no to the team owner when he says he wants to jump in?
That's a great question. I'm sure.
I'm so glad I'm not managing that.
I'm sure that Triple Eight will have their own desire, like their own game plan. I don't think Jamie's ego is that big in terms of demanding to get into the car to finish the race in a race-winning position. But
this isn't an ego thing. This is a pure talent thing.
Yeah, that's the question. It would very much depend on how the race has been shaping up. If it's like, if Finney's been the quicker driver, I'd probably keep him in. If he has any complaint at all, like if there's any modicum that he might not be at 100%, I'd say Jamie get in. So that would be my thing.
Yeah, because and this is going to lead to my point, and I think you may agree. These are the only two partnerships, this one and the one we're going to talk about, where there's, in my mind, two really solid A drivers.
As in the co-drivers are A drivers?
Like proper A grade, top line.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Everyone we've talked about has been either like a solid, we'll give you the car back, okay, or a young up-and-comer that's, going to come through the ranks. But yeah, I got to say, Jamie Whincup, and then for the next car, Garth Tander are the two that you would say could still be on the supercars grid right now.
Yeah. And I think that's their massive advantage.
Yeah. So let's talk about the number 97. Shane Van Gisbergen partnering with Garth Tander. This has been a partnership that's gone on for 3 seasons now. They won it in 2020. They should have come second last year, were it not for a tyre deflation in the very last throws of the race. Shane Van Gisbergen has had a season that rivals his season last year, which rivals his season 2016. He has been untouchable in everything that he has driven, whether it be supercars, whether it be rally, whether it be sports cars. He has been untouchable. He has already got the equal most race wins in a supercar season with 18, and the fashion with which he has done so has been ridiculous.
It's been dominant to the point of
absurdity.
Yeah. I like how we're swinging at the same word there.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous.
I think this has been even more dominant even when J-Dub was in his power. Even when Scape was in his power.
Even when Scotty Mac was in his power.
Yeah. I think Scotty Mac had Jizzy, but Jesus. Can't think of a season like this.
This is the thing, right? It's been... You used that word earlier. It's almost as if the other drivers are scared of him. He just has had a way of driving around issues in the car, issues in strategy. It doesn't seem to matter what the other teams will do. Triple Eight, they've just found a way to put him in positions to win races.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you're in the pack, we're going to bring you into pits, you can do 20 laps on this center tyres, by the way, you're quicker than the field already. Or, okay, you got clear air, let's make the most of it. Oh, good, you're 20 seconds ahead of the field by now.
It's just ridiculous. And he always seems to have some pace in his back pocket to just turn it on when he needs it. So it's been...
Oh, it's like, I need to pass Cam Waters into the hairpin at Tassie. Okay, I'll just put it here and he can't do anything about it. Bye.
Or I need to pass Cam Waters onto the main straight at Pukekohe.
I'll make this happen.
That battle with Waters at Pukekohe was ridiculous. But that's been sort of the epitome of the season. Waters has been the only one to really offer any resistance because half the time the other teams are getting out of the way before they even get there, just through strategy.
Yeah. It's like they don't want to ruin their race, but they're really ruining their race by not fighting the guy who's going to beat them in the race.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're saying is Van Gisbergen is just... If he doesn't win this race, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Add to him Garth Tander, who has been cleaning up everything in the Australian GT series alongside Yasser Shahin. And, this includes Van Gisbergen and Jeffrey Ibrahim, by the way. Very often what will happen is Gizzy will win one race and then Tander will win the other race just because of who's in the car based on what's what. So it's just been... This is a driver pairing with no weak points.
Yeah, no, it's just... there's nothing more to say apart from, okay, this is going to be, if all goes to plan, which very rarely happens at Bathurst, this car will win. There's just no question about it.
Yeah. So I've actually got a different tier to what you've got, Kiwi. I've had, A, B, C tier, and then I've got a space above that, which is S tier for SVG. And that's where this car is going.
Fair.
That's where this car is going.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough, and I can't believe that we're this certain about a winner this far out of Bathurst, but it's hard to say otherwise.
It's very rare that you have a driver going into Bathurst with almost 2 full races in hand in the championship as well.
Yeah.
We are saying that this is almost we are making it sound like this is almost a full-on thing, but it almost is. If you've been watching the races this season, Shane has won 18 races of the, how many's there been? 30 races so far this season?
Yeah. His first result has been AGP where he had the tie go boom.
Exactly.
I think the field's biggest chance of victory here against them is if he still thinks he's driving the Skoda from this weekend, takes it off track somewhere.
In the rally car, yeah.
Yeah. Just have to go a bit of dirt bashing off the back of Skyline or something.
That would be the only way. And, with Garth in the car as well, you're not expecting the co-driver to bin it at any point either. So it's very safe. Now, the question I have for you, Kiwi, is it possible that Triple Eight could do a Bathurst lockout?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, it's very possible if you could be 2 out of 3. Can the Triple Eight do it?
We've seen rookies. We've seen rookies with great results before. I mean, Nick Percat is a winner here.
Yeah, let me consult my guru. What do you reckon, Phoebe? Can they get 3 cars? She smiles at me, so that's probably a yes.
That would be redonkulous, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's very possible.
Which is kind of terrifying, right? When has a team been this strong?
HRT were probably the last super team to be this altogether dominant, weren't they?
Possibly.
Back in the 2000s?
Back in the early 2000s. That's at the very verges of what I remember watching, so...
Yeah. Stone Brothers had one good car and one that was thereabouts. Apart from that, Triple Eight. This is even more dominant when Jamie Whincup was in the peak of his powers.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of terrifying to see one team be so all-encompassingly dominant. So we've got that to look forward to. Chris, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think. I'll just give everyone a bit of a wrap-up of what other action is going to be on track. So Bathurst, the week starts really with the parade into town, but the track action starts on Thursday. There's a bunch of support categories as well. The support action at Bathurst is actually pretty stacked. It's got quite a packed schedule. So we've got Heritage Touring Cards, Super Utes, Toyota 86, Porsche Carrera Cup, Super 2 and Super 3 combined, and the Supercars. So that's 6 series on track. Supercars have 2 practice sessions on Thursday, 2 practice sessions on Friday with a qualifying, 2 practice sessions on Saturday with the shootout, and then of course the race on Sunday starting at 10:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, which is GMT or UTC plus 11:30. So, a perfect flip of the clock for you guys in Europe. And it is going to be a full-on Australian festival of motorsport, as it is every single year. And as well, Chris, I've got a little bit of something to let you know. Forecast for Bathurst on Sunday. 70% chance of rain all day.
Oh, boy.
So we've got that to contend with as well.
And this is an FOM forecast of rain where it never happens. This is Bathurst. It will rain at some point. Oh, yeah. That's going to... I mean, it also makes it more likely for SVG to win.
Because he's just so good in the rain.
But holy cow, yes.
Yeah.
We haven't had a good rain race for a while, so I'm looking forward to that.
And I would say 2017, which was the last properly good rain race, was the best endurance race I've ever watched, I think. Yeah.
Just the way and all the co-drivers did 50, 60 laps in the rain, just without a real incident. It was great to watch. So it's a shame we're getting no Super 5000 this weekend, but that's a separate kettle of fish.
Exactly. That's a whole other thing. Let's wrap it up because we've been going on for far too long. Yes. We've already ticked over 2 hours. Chris, give me your top 3 and I'll give you 2 supplementaries.
Okay, well, we got 97, then daylight.
Yeah.
Bit more daylight, then maybe some daylight. then the 88.
Yep. So that's Shane Gisberg and Tander, and then Feeney and Wee Cup.
Yep. And then, oh my God, I don't want to say the 11, but I'm going to say the 6. Yeah, 6 for
The
first.
6, Waters and Moffat.
Yep. And then, give me the 11. The
Di Pasquale and Tony D. Yep.
And you know what? Because why the heck not?
If you say the 51, I'm going to smack you in the head.
No, I was going to 51. Like, I'm not that brain damaged yet. I'm going to say the Reynolds Campbell car.
26? That's interesting pick. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Interesting. What
about yourself, sir?
I was going to say 97, clearly. I was going to say number 6. I was going to say 25. I reckon if Mostert is on, and if Walkinshaw are on, they are going to be up there in the mix. I don't see how they can't be. Then I was going to say number 8, Andre Heimgartner and Dale Wood. And then my last one, I'm not sure. This is where it starts to get complicated.
Outside that, you've got to really. That's the thing with Supercars this year. You've got your top 2 or 3. The next 15.
Yeah, could be anywhere. I'm actually going to say the number 20. I think Scott Pye and Tyler Everingham. I reckon they could spring a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, we all like a good Everingham pie.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Get out. I can't wait to deal with this in the edit. Thank you, Kiwi.
No problem. I just haven't dropped the swear words yet, so when I do that...
I mean, I have, so that's fine. We can sort that one out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to us once again. Of course, you can catch all the action of the V8 Supercars on Superview if you're outside of Australia. Inside of Australia, you can catch it on Foxtel or on KO or on TV because it's on free-to-air, which would be sick. Track action, as we said, starts Thursday. It is one of the brilliant race circuits. It's one of the brilliant race events. It's one of those few events that mean more than a championship, and for that reason, we love it. Chris, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you, as always, for hosting, Mr. Zalavari.
And thank you, everyone, very much for listening. We will see you again, hopefully very shortly. I've been Michael Zalavari. Peace out!